Cash Color Canvas, a high level of conversation on LiveHipHopDaily.tv, and this episode is sponsored by Atlantis Clothing. Our Atlantis, Drug Lord, and Return to Viper collections are all available for purchase. Head to our website today and shop today. And if you shop tonight between 9 and 11, you get 10% off your whole entire order when you use Cash Color Canvas at checkout. So head to AtlantisClothing.com today. And it's also sponsored by M4MM, man. Thank you, M4MM, for blessing us with some amazing guests and some amazing content this month. And we continue this conversation with M4MM members with Melissa Lee West today. But before we start this interview, yes, I am a Tevin Campbell fan. I used to be. I mean, I can't be the only person who thought Tevin Campbell at one point was actually a dope act.
No, you weren't the only one.
I wasn't the only one.
But the song you just sang, I didn't recognize.
You didn't know that song?
I didn't.
Prince wrote that.
Oh,
man, that was the song that made him. I can't think of no other record.
My
That's
bad.
the song that made him. But anyway, I got my special guest tonight, Melissa Lee West. We get to talk about a lot.
Okay,
let's
do it.
M procurement, social equity, M for MM. I want to get into books.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to get into your book life. I want to get into your podcast. We gonna do all this tonight.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Tevin Campbell later.
Yeah, we can talk about that later.
Let's
All
do
right. So thank you for coming by tonight. Again, I just gave you a pretty good introduction, but there's still more. I'm pretty sure you can fill us in on. So for those who aren't familiar with you and what you do, please introduce yourself.
Yes. So my name is Melissa West. I call myself the social technologist. I'm a techie with a personality, and by trade, I'm a techie. So I used to write code for a living. I used to make businesses extra money, additional money. And I said, you know what? It's not really impacting the community. So I kind of pivoted and created my own brand, which was Fit for Legacy. So everything that I do is legacy focused. What are we doing to make sure that we leave the breadcrumbs for the next generation? That's a little bit about me. And with M4MM, I'm the program director for Procure. So when you think about your black and brown sisters and brothers who may want to get in the space, they're the neighborhood expert. How do we get them in the space? How do we make sure they get an open door? So that's a little bit about me. I'll pause because I can talk all day. I'm a preacher's kid.
No, it's okay. For anybody listening, techies are all cool. Like all techies are cool. There's no such thing as a non-cool techie.
We'll take it.
Yeah, we'll take it. So right now, I know you're knee deep in the cannabis industry, and we're all better off for it. What were you doing prior to this, though?
Prior to this, I actually led, in my other life, I led a customer success team. I like to build people. So prior to this, with my techie hat on and my people building skills, I actually brought in college students. I brought in veteran career professionals and helped them build a customer success team. I'm very big on put yourself in that person's shoes. What kind of experience do you want to create for the next person? So that's kind of how I combine my personality with my tech.
What's a customer success team? Like, what would that be?
So think about when you contact Amazon. All right, and you get that bot. Can I help you with your order? It's automated, no personality, no feeling, no emotion. We look at what was your journey when you first contacted the customer success team, and then how did your journey either stay flat or did it increase? Did you come back and buy more? There's a saying that says happy customers buy more and tell their friends.
T-Mobile, Georgia Power, and the DMV need your help.
They need my help.
They need your help immediately. They need a customer success team, not customer service anymore.
That's the difference, and that's really the difference, And so that's what I do. I help build those types of programs for organizations, nonprofit, for profit.
All right, so that's dope. So that's a major transition from.
It is. It's a transition because I love tech, but when you're behind the scenes writing code, you forget the business goal.
Yeah.
Technology is a tool, and I like working with people. I like building teams. So I made that pivot. It was still a tech company though, so I still got to kind of show off a little bit when I talk.
Were you code. One of the few black faces in this tech company?
Of course.
Okay.
In leadership, for sure.
Yeah.
In leadership, for sure.
That's definitely a conversation when we get into this diversity conversation about the lack of diversity is in the tech world, and it definitely reflects in a lot of the apps we use, even for the longest emojis. Like, it definitely reflects in that.
Yeah, we just finally got a couple emoji that was black. Like, really?
Yeah.
I'll be back for that conversation when you're ready. I've got stories to tell.
All right, but we are here to talk about your involvement with M4MM. But before we get there, M4MM stands for Minorities for Medical Marijuana. Did you have any experience in cannabis prior to jumping into this space, like whether it be actually as a user or just somebody who advocated prior?
Yeah, so I definitely was consumed in my 20s. I was,
I love a proud consumer.
I was a consumer, and I used to always tell the story. I would be me and my Bible, my little doobie, and we're gonna have a nice bath and a glass of wine. That was my experience consuming. So I was always more of the thinker type, just me and God. God, let's have a conversation.
I'm like that.
That's.
I'm a personal smoker. Like I really don't do well in sessions and stuff like that. Personal guy, man.
Yeah, and people couldn't understand it, and I'm not traditional anyway. But yeah, I definitely consumed in my 20s. But being a techie, I changed jobs every 3 to 5 years. Never did I want to be, oh God, am I going to pass the test, right?
Do they drug test you in the test world? I assumed everybody in tech was on weed or something.
Back then they didn't, but because I'm pretty, I had siblings, but I knew I didn't want to ever have that conversation that I didn't get a job because I didn't pass the test. Yeah. It just wasn't that worth it for me. However, that was in my 20s. So I went about a span of, when did CBD get really, really big? About last couple of years for me. That's when I started experimenting with CBD for pain, for insomnia, and kind of got back into more of the education of it. So
I feel you on the failing the drug test thing, because I did that once and I had to fully admit it. And when I say, my mom will bring that up occasionally, even now.
Right. Yeah.
Even now, the second, she'll bring up occasionally that you might have to get a job one day. You might want to cut back on that.
Right.
I'm straight. They ain't gonna do that to me.
In your 40s, your mindset is different. But then I definitely it wasn't worth it for me.
Yeah. I'm glad you didn't take the route of getting fake pee and all that. You just
tape it to my leg. But I knew all the tricks just in case I had to use them.
Let me just cut this off cold turkey.
Right.
So now you are involved with M4MM, and that's a great thing for everybody. How did you find yourself involved with the organization?
Relationships. I met, we have another program director with Project Clean Slate. I've done life with her for years, and she said, Melissa, I know you wear the technology hat. We're looking to, how do we collect the data of all these people out here who have a business offering for the cannabis space? How do we get that in a database? Yeah. How do we push that out? And she said, I think you're the perfect person for the job. So that's Danielle, and she referred me. That's how I got involved with M4MM.
Danielle is literally the dot connector.
She literally is. She literally is. She is.
That's great. So, and your main thing is M procurement, which actually I love the name. M Procure. M Procure. So, explain to us what M Procure is and what led you to this arm of the organization.
So after I was voluntold by Danielle that this was the place that I should fit.
Voluntold.
So what led me here is, again, just bringing those two things together. A lot of times people don't know about the opportunities that exist, right? So first of all, what can we do from the grassroots level to mass broadcast these opportunities? Like, we have people, I met someone today that I would love to tell you about in the future, who makes her own products, her own cosmetics. I've got this pain butter. And how would she get an opportunity in this space? So what MProcure does is we gather that data. They sign up to say, I want to be a part of VendMate. So we have a proprietary system called VendMate. And when they sign up, they tell us what their specialty is, where they operate. Are they a certified organization, like maybe a government certified organization, women-owned small business? And are they ready to do business? And then we make sure they're contract ready. And then we talk to our partners. We have several partners. This year we're underwritten by Curaleaf, who has dispensaries all over the nation. And they said they want to have 420 minority suppliers by the year 2025. So that means everyone that's registered with us, they're going to be at the front of the line to at least have first right of refusal. That's
great. It sounds like Curaleaf have plans for national domination.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Let's get ahead of this diversity conversation now. I feel them though, because when I first read a little bit about what y'all did, I thought about how one, we do have a serious lack of diversity, especially when it comes to black faces in C-suite positions in major cannabis companies right now. And I know it's a big concern. How does Procure attack those issues? Because I know, again, you're dealing with people who run businesses. Some people are stuck in their ways. Some people are stuck in doing things a certain way. How do you approach businesses when it comes to you might need a diversity course, or you might need a lesson in how to diversify your staff.
So we have a series of talks every month. We have a First Friday talk where actually we're attracting them. They want us, right? These companies have dollars to spend, and it should be more than just a tagline, more than a corporate responsibility program. And so we actually don't have to seek them out as much as they seek us out. And then what we want to do is put the spotlight on our members at that time, because I think there's a misconception around the education, around the business know-how. Our people are very savvy. We've known how to survive and multiply and create legacy for years. Now we just need to put the spotlight on them.
Yeah, and I bet you that's still a tough job, you know, because most people do feel like they know what they're doing. And we've seen for, I would say, last 2 to 3 years specifically, we've seen a lot of companies trip over themselves trying to be what they call diverse and doing it on their own.
Absolutely.
You know,
you didn't ask anybody. Clearly, you didn't ask any questions. Right.
Just celebrating Juneteenth wrong, you know.
Come on.
Black Lives Matter wrong. Just doing everything wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just,
absolutely.
You know, and I looked at it, we definitely need to have these real conversations on this level, because even when I saw not Mitch McConnell and them, but Chuck Schumer. Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi. Remember when they was dressed in a kente cloth and they looked like a Tribe Called Congress?
Yes.
You know?
Yes, a mess.
Yeah, like stuff like that.
Did you ask somebody?
Did you ask somebody?
Yeah. And that's the thing. I think it's almost, there's an assumption that they still create the norm. Yeah. There's an assumption. Exactly. And yeah, and so it's almost like, oh no, but I think the more of us get together, the more of us raise the standards. Like, here's the bar. You need to come up to our bar, as opposed to us trying to have the respectability politics and all the different things we've done historically to fit in.
You know, I think you hit that perfectly. They try to create the norm now, you know, and if you look at some of the, look at diversity throughout the years, especially through TV, and you'll see the norm trying to be created, and you see again where they were super stumbling, you know, like inserting a black kid in a white family, you know what I'm saying? Like, just out of random people, just out the blue. Like, that's your diversity right there for the year.
And you know, the writers still don't look like us. You can just tell by the content.
You know, side note, I was having this conversation a little while ago with someone about how at one point in TV during the 80s, if you were black, you were somehow adopted by a white family. I don't know why. I don't even know how some of it happened. Like, between Webster's and all that, like, you just happened. Even Ricky Schroeder, he's not black, but even Ricky Schroeder, you just wake up one day on the doorstep of a millionaire.
Right.
And I used to think, when's my life going to be that? Like, at what point am I going to wake up and realize that there's this white dude who's really my dad?
And have a theme song.
Yeah, to get a theme song. You know what I mean? I live in a penthouse now. All my friends that come visit me up here. When's this going to happen?
Tootie on roller skates.
Janet Jackson dating me. All kind of stuff happens when you're in the 80s.
Janet had the iron, though. We don't want to talk about Penny. Penny had a little iron situation.
How about I missed that episode?
What?
You know, I told somebody recently, my sister had the same face. I told her, I said, good times used to scare me as a kid. Like, I was, me and my sister, and my brother were old enough to actually watch Good Times. I was a kid at that moment. And I told her, I said, the time it used to come on in reruns was like late at night. So I'm in elementary school. The sun's getting dark. I'm in Boston. And when that theme song used to come on, I cut the TV. Oh, I'm out. There's something about this rampant poverty is going to scare the shit out of me. And these dudes is in projects. There's a whole thing about Michael joining the gang. I'm like, I cannot do this.
You couldn't do it. So what did you watch, the Jeffersons?
Did I watch the Jeffersons? I used to watch the Jeffersons. I would watch Different Strokes.
Okay.
Matter of fact, I was that kid. They definitely knew their target market. Like, elementary school I was that dude. I'm watching Give Me a Breaks. I'm watching all those. Yeah, man. But I wasn't watching Good Times. Good Times scared the mess out of me.
Oh, look, bless your heart.
I could kind of watch it now. And get it from a different perspective. But I'm like, man, as much as people don't like slave stories, I don't like stories that take place in projects.
I hear you.
I don't like stories that take place in projects. I know where this is going to go.
I hear you.
So thank you for diversity. Lost story.
That was a good digression. I like it.
Man, thank you for diversity, man. So you said, like, again, most brands are now coming to you at this point, especially in the climate that we have. Black Lives Matter. We now have a Juneteenth holiday. Did anybody wish you happy Juneteenth?
They did.
Did they?
They did.
My mama called me on Sunday to wish me happy Juneteenth. That's how much she thought about it.
Yeah, they did. It was cute.
Yeah,
it was cute. I mean, it's like you can respect Opal Lee, who fought for the actual holiday to become a holiday. But it's almost like those of us who've been celebrating it at least a year or two. I haven't been celebrating my whole life, but it's when you know it's performative, you're like, thanks.
Yeah.
You know.
I felt that way during Black History Month. Like actually, for again the last 3 years, definitely I've been feeling that way about Black History Month. I need y'all to chill. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
Like,
and the thing is, it literally should be consistent. And I think that's the part. I mean, how do you raise the level of awareness so that we don't look for the crumb from someone else?
Yeah.
You know, you mentioned my podcast earlier. I'm part of a podcast called Grits and Porridge. And one of my co-hosts, Krishna, she grew up in a household where that was every day. So her norm was different than most of our norm in terms of, at least mine, the norm of education about us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
So, but I'm saying, so when it comes to companies coming to you, what's your vetting process? Like, have you ever had to turn down a company or turn down a brand because you just felt like this is a no-win situation?
We haven't had that yet, but I can tell you the vetting process is really tell us more than what's on your website. Tell us more about, give us your numbers. What has been the impact? You know, what are you doing to actually reach out? How are you collecting that data to make sure that this is, again, just not something just for the gram or for your website or for your blurb on whatever news may catch you. So we haven't had to turn anyone down yet, but we asked those targeted questions. And then our founder, Roz McCarthy, I mean, she's not new to this. So what I love about it, you can't get her with the fluff. And so she quickly will catch the fluff if they try, and they'll let us go back and get back to you on that. So we've never had to full sell turn anyone down.
That's good, because I was thinking about what would a company's why be when it comes to being diverse. Because I mean, to be completely honest, if you're a company that's been running for X amount of years, you have this people in place. I always wonder, so now what's your why? Like everything seems to be moving smooth for you outside of the fact that maybe.
But I think their why is still money. I don't think it ever changes. Their why is money. It's the bottom line. And the thing is, we know how much we spend as a people. Yeah. And they want that money. And what you've seen over the past couple of years, whether with monuments coming down, they had that crisis plan in place, sitting on ice until we finally demanded that they do something about it. So to me, it's the bottom line is money always. That's why they come.
Yeah, well, they're coming to a good place, and you really do a good job as far as M4MM does a great job as far as vetting people. I'm sure they do. You know, you're not just gonna let just any and everybody through the door.
No, not at all. Not at all. No, we ask the questions, we look for the data, and then there's consistent check-ins. We meet regularly, we have quarterly reports, all of that to make sure that they're doing what they said they're going to do. Okay.
And as far as making sure people do what they say they're going to do, is there a putting feet to fire situation here? Like, I see you just put somebody in place yesterday, they're vice president of whatever you just made up. Do you go back 2-3 years later to make sure that made up position and this person is still in that position?
It's still there. Yeah. We haven't. That's a good question. No, we haven't had to do that because most of the time when they come to us, they're looking for us to be the talent to help them diversify. So it's a little bit different. They may be partnering with an independent small business owner, not so much an employee. So not talking about the diversity of their staff, but who are they partnering with? Are they sharing the dollar? So typically it focuses on that. We haven't had to go back and find anybody that did a token yet, but I don't know. It could happen. This person yet? Yeah, it could happen.
Yeah, that's amazing. So let's why do you feel like most companies try to shy away from these type of conversations? You know, because my thought just in business is I feel like you should do something, but there should be a why. If you're already working this way, I don't want you to force me into this situation just so you can have something else. What are some of the conversations like? Or why do you feel like companies do actually shy away from these conversations?
Probably afraid of making a mistake. So the whole faux pas of producing it, right? Trying too hard. So I think they just shy away until they're forced to. Many companies were forced to have their conversations when George Floyd was murdered. Yes. Right? Yes. They were forced to have the conversation. You know, I was working in corporate at a different company at the time, and they were forced to have the conversations about it. And then now what? So I think they have to shift because they know that the millennials and younger than that, they're watching. Yeah. So I think they have to. It's a business strategy.
That's awesome, man. So you do other things outside of M4MM and the things you do for them. We spoke about your podcast.
We did.
I want to speak about a book, though. You wrote a book.
I did.
Tell us about this book, because I try to do my Google search. I want to know as much about a person. And when I typed in your name, a book popped up, and my first thought was, that can't be her. I don't know. I just read the title. I was like, oh no, this can't be her. Then I clicked on the name, and your face picked up, and I was like, no, that's her.
That's
shit.
her.
Talk to us about this book, and make sure I'm saying the book correctly. The Wages, the Rise, the Fall, and the Redemption. That's you.
Yes, that's me.
Talk to us about this book. Man, I sound like Beehive from Beehive. I don't know. I watch Beehive a lot. Shout out to Beehive. I sound like Beehive right now. Talk to me, shout it. About it. Shout it. Tell me about this book now.
Well, that's like what had happened was. So this book is, I say, 75% autobiographical. It's very true. Autobiographical, whatever the word is. True story. We make up words. Hey. But 75% is a true story based on my life, my family's life. And the 25% is just writing the rest of our story. There's some things that I want to see manifest in my lifetime, in our kids' lifetime, and that's what that book is. And so I'm a big believer in, kind of manifesting and prophesying your future. That's what the book is.
Speak to us about the novel, because I thought the synopsis itself sounded amazing, which made me want to make that sure that was a question. Tell us about the book.
So the book itself is the story of a young woman, and she's the only sister. She's the daughter of a leader in the community, a leader who was the first to do a lot of things, the first to make an impact in his community, the first to be successful per se. And then he passes away. No warning, suddenly, and there's no conversation about what's next. And so the book talks about how that family pulls together to kind of shift the focus, how we took care of the mother, and how the brothers kind of came into their own to make sure that what's left next for the next generation has some clues and some breadcrumbs on what to do.
And it's so dope because it really fits into the fit for legacy conversation that you also that will fit for legacy that you also do. Because I feel like that question right there again, the what's next.
Yep.
Two questions I feel like most people don't ask is the why and the what's next.
That's right.
And definitely we don't ask it in families. Like you don't ask a what's next, which is why we see so many GoFundMes when people die and things like that. Nobody ever honestly asks the what's next.
Yeah. What's next and who's next?
Yeah.
Right. I'm definitely a daddy's girl, and I knew there was a big picture next, but what did he see for me, right?
Yeah,
what did he see that he maybe never shared because he didn't want to overwhelm me? So now we push those conversations, now to have those conversations earlier rather than later.
And that's important, especially in our community, in our culture. That's very important that we push those conversations because like the conversation about diversity in business, this is a touchy conversation for some people. They don't want to even discuss, anything that might be, like I was just telling my mom a little while ago, I've been reading the Bible a lot more since COVID. And I told her one book I've been ducking is Revelation because I feel like it's telling you too much. And I said the last couple of weeks I just sat down and I read Revelation. I said, I'm blown away. Like there's actually so much stuff that's like literally reflects what I'm seeing right now. Down to the fact that he even says that you're going to look up one day and people are going to be flooded with false information. And I was like, man, look, conversation you don't like having. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Long story short, things you don't like having and you try to duck for so long. But legacy is one of the things we do need to have a conversation about.
Absolutely. And I call that, the conversation before the crisis.
Yeah, conversation before the crisis.
You want to talk about it before it's, how do we pay for it? Like people dying, that's one thing. Paying for the funeral, that's where GoFundMe comes in. But again, what are we here to do as a family? What's our impact?
Yeah. And you continue the conversation about Black liberation and legacy and everything with the podcast, Grits and Porridge.
Yes.
How did your podcast journey start?
Very organically. So myself and my co-host, we were on the phone right after George Floyd was murdered, and we were already talking about Juneteenth and Black August. We were talking about how, again, there's not a lot of education around our history. And the title came to be because my co-hosts, Christian and Carrie, they have Jamaican roots, they have Caribbean roots, and we were talking about grits versus porridge. And so we said
two things I don't eat.
You see, but the baseline, you don't eat them, but the base is cornmeal. And that was really how we came up with the title. It's, as Black people, we can either say, we can other ourselves to say, well, I'm actually, Jamaican and Haitian or whatever.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah. But we were like, no, that divides us. And we have a diluted impact when we do that. So Grits and Porridge came to be that way. And so we talk about everything you can think of as it relates to Black liberation. We just released our Juneteenth video podcast, and check it out.
Have you seen High Off the Hog? on
we
Netflix.
featured that in our.
Oh man, when you said the cornmeal thing, I thought about how connected everything is through food.
Yes, and that's what we talked. And we actually talked about how in the Hog in the last podcast episode, especially around where I think the doctor, she says resistance was in every step of the journey.
Yeah.
People always think that oh, no one fought. No, they fought every step of the way, and it was with the food. No, I don't want your nutrient. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I love that. I love
that was
that
amazing,
movie, man. In fact, I learned so much, like especially about George Washington and Thomas Jefferson's chefs. Yes. Every time I eat macaroni and cheese now, I'm like, hell yeah.
I'm about to start making mine differently now. I'm like, wait a minute, I gotta just go back to the.
You gotta see it. You gotta see it, bro. You find out how Thomas Jefferson used to have this whole. He was a foodie. He was basically a foodie, and his chef created a bunch of shit: French fries, macaroni and cheese. Like this was all coming out of
and
his
his wife
kitchen.
got credit.
Yeah. So every time I made French fries last night in honor of him.
Oh wow! Look at, you didn't invite us over.
I'm sorry. Okay. I'll invite you when I make my mac and cheese.
Please.
Yeah, I'll definitely do that. So and there's also Fit for Legacy. Now Fit for Legacy, I feel like is the roots of the whole tree. Like I feel like that's the roots of the whole tree of everything you do. So what is Fit for Legacy?
So I work with visionaries to sit down and say, what is your why? What is your what? Most of the time, people have an idea of what they want to create, but they get stuck with the how. And so, one of the things that I've been blessed to do is when I get on the phone with them and say, just tell me what your vision of success is, I get a download direct from heaven for them, for their business, and we make it happen. That's what Fit for Legacy does. It's not cookie cutter. It's very customized to their vision. And so I may pull in a Mecca. I may be pulling a Danielle to say, we need your help to help this vision come to pass. But I am the orchestrator and the project coordinator to make it happen.
All right. So, dang, you have so much, like, yeah, man. Like, there's like so much to unravel here.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. And I feel like you definitely are somebody who's passionate about everything that you do, especially when it comes to, again, the black liberation and making sure that black people understand legacy.
Yeah.
Where do you feel like this is all going to go, let's say 5 years from now? Like, do you still feel like this is going to be something you're going to be hands-on with and something that you're still going to be pushing?
Fit for Legacy for sure. I'll be hands-on directing, but I already have the succession plan. My nephew's work,
she thought about what's next.
I've already thought about what's next. So I'll be involved, but it's more about making sure that they have the tools, they have the resources, so that if I decide to go to an island and not come back, they got what they need to have. But I'll definitely be involved. It's definitely a multi-generational business mission and everything.
All right, man. So speak some goodness about M4MM, because I think that as much as people might know about them because they're actually so big at this point. Like y'all are a huge gang out in these streets.
Yeah.
What are some things that you feel like people don't know about the organization?
I think a lot of people don't know how deep our roots go in terms of education, knowledge of the industry, relationships, because a lot of times the person who's the quiet one in the corner has all the connections. So that's one thing about M4MM. I learn something new every day about who we've done work with, whether it's in the government side or in business. And so I think people need to understand that we're not new to this as an organization. We're highly respected for the grassroots efforts that we made. And now when people are looking to make an impact in diversity and inclusion, they're coming to us to say, are we getting this right? We're focused on policy, knowing the law. It's not just fluff. So I think that's the biggest thing people should remember.
I think that's dope, man. So you definitely shared a lot of great knowledge with us today. Thank you, and thank you, Danielle, for coming through tonight.
Thanks for having me. Just bring French fries next time.
I ain't gonna bring French fries. I think mac and cheese.
Okay.
I'll bring mac and cheese because and to show respect.
I appreciate it.
To show respect, man. I might bring that was such a good. I'm thinking about the show right now. That was such a good show.
It was.
High off the hog.
It was. It really was.
And for those who haven't seen it, please go on Netflix, check the show out. It's 4 episodes. It ain't gonna drain your whole week, but it's definitely one of them things that once you watch one, you're gonna keep going.
Absolutely, it was so good.
There's also a show in there called about what's it? Damn. This dude, his name is Dan, but he fry food. He goes to all these different places. He goes tries these different fried food stuff.
Oh God, it's gonna make me hungry.
Exactly. It came up right after I finished watching High Off the Hog as a suggestion, and I was like, I just watched a bunch of healthy stuff. I can watch fried food for a minute. Yeah.
And then you order some wings or you cook some wings.
Oh, I made some wings. That was an absolute fact. But I need to get into this macaroni and cheese real quick.
Let's do it.
So thank you very much for coming through, Melissa, and thank you for telling us about everything that you do for M4MM.
Thank you.
If there was a company who was listening, or if there was somebody who wanted to get in touch with you, how could they do that?
I can be found on fitforlegacy.com, FITFOR legacy.com, and all social media platforms, Fit for Legacy. And if it's M4MM, I'm Melissa at M4MMUnited.org.
Thank you very much, Melissa.
You're
This was a
welcome.
great interview. I really had a great time
Thank
talking
you.
with you tonight.
I enjoyed it.
Thank you.
It. Thanks.
And that is Cash Color Cannabis, a high level of conversation on LiveHipHopDaily.tv. Quiet.